Okay, introduce yourself, and where can someone find you online?
Right. Cool. Sorry, I always go blank real quick. Okay.
That's okay.
Wait, who am I? Hi there. I'm John Trigonis, author of Crowdfunding for Filmmakers and crowdfunding consultant/manager. And you can find me on a variety of places, but most importantly, we've got the Twitter at Trigonis, my last name. And you can also find me at thejohntrigonis.com.
Awesome. How about your IG?
I always forget about Instagram, yes. You can also find me on Instagram at Trigonis. Sorry, that sounded like I was being an asshole. I didn't mean to be.
I love it.
Well, let me just one more time. Okay, cool.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you can also find me on Instagram at Trigonis.
And you do your Trig Talks, right?
Yeah, every day. Well, it used to be every morning. Now it's whenever I get out of the house naturally.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much every day. But yeah, I do these Trig Talks, hashtag Trig Talks. You can see a whole bunch of them where I just walk for about 30 seconds to a minute and, give some advice mostly to myself, but other people seem to benefit, so I keep doing it.
Actually, I really dig what you do. I don't get it every day, but when I do get it, there's always some meaning behind it. And it's good to know the person that's taught. Like,
yeah,
I hate influencer, but when you know real people that spout some real shit, and that day it hits you hard, you're like, wow, that was meant for me.
Yeah. I get excited when occasionally I'll see like someone messages me and they're like, that one hit me good today. I needed it. And I'm like, cool, so did I. That's why I read. That's why I did it.
It's true, right? It's like scripture. All right, I want to do some quick housekeeping. I want to thank John from Griot Cafe because he lets me come here and do whatever I want for the most part. And I want to give him a huge plug. I love these guys. And remember to eat and support local food people. All right. So now, tell me, what is your background overall? I know you just gave me your elevator pitch. You can expound into it.
Yes. So, I guess I could go into how I got into this whole crowdfunding world. It's one part of me. I'm mostly a writer, poet. Based in Jersey City most of my life, I guess.
Okay.
And then, although I grew up in Weehawken, but when I moved here and I got my education in Jersey City. So I'm pretty much a poet, a writer, and then I became a filmmaker for a good 10 years. And at one point, I was like guerrilla indie filmmaker to a fault. It was like sit there and we would just make a $500 feature, and it's gonna suck. It's gonna be terrible, but you know what? Yeah. It's made. It's there. People see it.
Yeah.
And then we make the next one. Yeah. But it was pulling money out of my own pocket. And I was also a professor for a time, an adjunct professor, which basically is freelance, which basically means you get paid nothing. Yeah. So I would basically take all of my money, put it towards one of my films, go to some film festivals, spending, never making any money off of film, because they were all shorts for the most part except one feature. So I was about to make I think it was my 8th short film called Cerise, and I had discovered, a few months before, I discovered Twitter.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, this is cool. I get to talk to people and about topics that my friends and I just don't talk about anymore because I already know their opinions about it and they haven't changed in 10 years.
Yeah, that's true.
So it was kind of cool. I built up a little bit of a following there. And then through Twitter, I started discovering this thing called crowdfunding. People were asking for money on the internet. And I was looking at some of the raises and I was like, that's amazing. I don't believe it.
Right.
So I looked at Cerise. I needed, I saved up about $10,000. And I would make films between $10,000 and $50,000, and it was all my own money saved. Right. So I said, I got $10,000. If I can get another $5,000, I can make a pretty good movie. I could pay some extra people.
Right.
But in my heart, I didn't believe it was going to work. So I was also like, this crowdfunding thing is not going to take off. Right. I'm gonna just do it to see if it works, And it did work. But I did it completely different from everybody else who was doing it at the time. There were only a handful of film campaigns.
Okay.
And that's kind of, so I ran the campaign, I did my own thing, and eventually I hit my goal. It was $5,000 back then in 2010. That's like the equivalent of about $25,000 now.
That's a lot of jing, especially for then.
It's decent, yeah. And for somebody who didn't know what they were doing, it's like, well, it's $5,000 extra, cool. And then I raised, I raised that money in a month, and then the next month I just kind of kept the campaign open, never promoted, and I got like $1,300 extra.
Wow!
Just from it being on Indiegogo.
Right.
So at that point, closed the campaign, went and made the film, and then I started getting people reaching out to me saying, "Hey, Trig, how did you do this? What's the secret?" So I started telling people like the secret, and this is what I did. This is what happened.
Right.
And ultimately, I was just spending too much time on crowdfunding stuff, not enough time writing and creating anything.
Yeah.
So my fiance actually gave me the idea to write a book, so that at least I could publish it.
Right.
And then I wouldn't have to give people all this, free advice, because I wasn't charging either. And they would get I'd get my little 10%, from the publisher. So that's exactly what I did. I pitched the publisher on Twitter.
Wow.
I didn't go with that publisher because they wanted to take a few weeks of research because they'd never heard of crowdfunding, and I was like, "Where have you been?"
Yeah.
So I went to their direct competition. They got on the phone within a week. 2 weeks later, I had a signed contract.
Wow.
An advance check in the mail.
Wow.
And then I started writing the book. 6 months later, sent it in. Book was published about another 6 months or 8 months later.
Yeah.
And at that point, I had been reached out to by Indiegogo.
Oh.
Because they saw me giving away free advice on Twitter, and they had an account back then called Indiegogo Film.
Okay.
And the guy who was running it at the time, Brad Wyman, producer in Hollywood, he basically said, like, "Hey, man, you're giving better advice than the people at Indiegogo give, so I want to hire you for Indiegogo Film."
Word.
So, and again, all on Twitter. So when we talk about social media, if we get to it, I got plenty to say.
Right.
So then it was a hard choice because I'm like, well, I'm teaching and it's not stable, but it gives me a lot of free time. And in my mind, startups were corporate and they were evil.
Yeah,
period. There was it was black and white. So again, talked to my fiance. I kind of made a hard decision and said, let me give it a try. Every day expecting to get fired the next week.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, I'm prepared. And I lasted 5 years.
Wow, that's
at
pretty
Indiegogo as a campaign strategist. I worked on all of their big campaigns. You name it, Super Troopers 2, Con Man, all film, video. Eventually I went to gaming, tabletop games, comic books, ran my own comic book campaign, and then ultimately I started doing some technology campaigns because that's where things were going, and apparel, and that's when I kind of started not liking the job anymore.
Yeah, it became a job.
It became a job because I was helping people raise money for things that I thought didn't have a place in the world. Like,
right.
Who needs another pair of sunglasses, when my sunglasses work just fine? Or who needs a smart salt shaker?
Yeah.
I'd find out later some people do need smart salt shakers to measure the amount of salt. But in my head, it was kind of like, too much technology, I'm not into it, I'm out. And at that point, they were also making a shift away from film.
Right.
So I said, you know what, this is time.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
It's about passion, and that's like the BVSTERs. We're all passionate about food, and it doesn't matter if you're going to make grandma's cookies or a food truck. This is a great episode for you because you need money, the moolah, and if you don't have Daddy Warbucks backing you, you need to get your tribe involved.
That's it.
So let's there was always something when I did the Rising Tide Capital course, and they talked about food. Are you familiar with the course?
I'm not sure of the course, but I know Rising Tide Capital for sure. Yeah. I actually spoke on a panel a while back with them.
Yeah, you should hook up again with them because they did mention that 90% of all food people that want to start never get funding because you fail.
Yep.
Like 70% failure. So no one wants to fund you, and you have great ideas, and that's why they said you could go the crowdsourcing, and they basically had like a tubular, these and this one, and that's it. Check it out yourself. So that's basically what I kept thinking in my head was, why not? We need funding. People that like food need funding, and so if I close my notes over here, crowdfunding is a great reason. Even I goof off a little bit. Okay, so back in 2016, Adrian and I we actually did our first contribution to a food truck called Cinnamon Snail. And he did everything I thought was cool, and you'll probably tell me this, the BVSTER's the same thing, which is he did a video. He became known, Chef Adam Sobel. He was on the Today Show. He was one of the cool people. It's an all vegan truck. And I would follow them around like the Grateful Dead.
Wow.
And I have. So, I mean, their food was that impactful.
Huh.
So I know that you've worked with other food brands, and we know them collectively. So why don't we talk about Lloyd from Baonanas, right? You dealt with him, worked with him?
Yeah. I dealt with, Lloyd over at Baonanas when they ran their campaign. Actually, I was doing a podcast. Well, I was doing an event for 80 Magazine.
Okay.
And we had Lloyd come in because I was giving a talk on crowdfunding for the audience.
Right.
A lot of food vendors there as well.
Right.
And I basically, was giving my lectures, and then we had him kind of come up, and he was a little bit stuck in the campaign. So I was giving live advice right then and there on what he should try. And again, you give advice to one person who's in it now, it's still going to benefit somebody who's not in it yet.
True.
Because they're going to take those notes and be like, all right, this could work for later on, and that might spawn some ideas. But yeah, he was very, very humble about it, and that's part of like running a good campaign is you got to kind of, just going back to that idea is you got to build up the identity of what you're doing, and you have to have an audience. That's pretty much why nobody really wants to give money to a lot of products or food trucks, because if they don't have a built-in audience, it's a risky investment.
Yeah, totally.
So nobody's going to want to do that. But the people, if you're inspiring them, if like those. Like Cinnamon Snail inspired you to like kind of be a follower and an advocate for their food.
Yeah, totally.
Like that's huge. That is almost like money in the bank at that point when you need to go out and make the invitation for them to actually come to the plate with some money.
Yeah, totally. I also know that Departed Souls, I know Brian. And you,
Brian.
Did you work on that, or did you advise him at all?
So I didn't work on that because, they were, I was working at Indiegogo at the time, and they did a Kickstarter, and can't really do that back in the day. But although, to be honest, I can now say I did kind of do a lot of that stuff on the side. So
that's cool.
That's cool. But they ran a really cool campaign, and I followed it enough where I could see that they had a following. They a lot of it was proof of concept. Look, we want to start a brewery here.
Yeah.
And people came to plate, and they gave the money because they, again, local, like just anything local that's gonna kind of. That's tapping into things that are popular now too.
Yeah, totally.
Like craft beer is like a huge movement. It's going to be for a while.
Yeah.
Like almost anybody can probably set up a pretty cool crowdfunder for. I mean, there's a crowdfunding platform specifically for craft beers.
Really?
Yeah, I forget the name of it. And actually had a pretty cool name. I'll so you can put it in your show notes or something.
That's cool.
I'll send it to you when I figure it out again.
Yeah.
But like everybody's trying to kind of like tap into that, and anything local, if you can just get your audience, your people in your town on board way ahead in advance, they will do more than you think they'd be willing to do.
That's true. And I'm happy that I'm reading your book. I know we've talked before. I remember when I first bought your book was at
actually was at that talk.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Totally was at that talk. Yeah.
So, but I remember buying your book, saying I don't think I'm going to crowdfund, but I will support because we're neighbors and stuff. And then now I'm going to make my diner documentary. And like I've got the book already. I've got the game.
and it's the latest edition still.
Yeah, I love it. So we'll make sure you can get a plug where you can get the book from.
Yeah.
So also then we had my friend Jesse from Made Meals. He did a successful Kickstarter. I think it was Kickstarter. Definitely wasn't Indiegogo. And he was involved with the Pilot Works, which was, I was explaining earlier, the co-working kitchen, and they just abruptly ended. So a lot of those food entrepreneurs just didn't have a location. But he actually had a successful Kickstarter, got the money, and now he's fulfilling his meals. He has a meal delivery plan. So. All right, so let's get into it. I mean, I love talking to people, and this is fun. I could do this all day. So, all right, so let's talk about what are some of the basic principles of crowdfunding. And before, when you came in, it was so quiet like a church. And this is what happens every time you pull out some mics and someone wants to talk. That everyone comes to life.
Yeah. Oh, these look like powerful mics, right?
Oh no, believe me, they've got a super cardio. Like I'm going to geek out here. Cardio and audio is the thing you can invest that never loses its value.
Yeah.
So,
Truth.
All right. So what are some of the basic principles of crowdfunding?
Yeah, I mean, basic principles. So, I figured it out many years ago. I called it the 3 Ps back in the day.
Okay.
The pitch, the perks, and the promotion.
Okay.
Those are the 3 things you got to focus on.
Okay.
The 3 most important things about crowdfunding. If you get those right, chances are you're going to run a fine campaign. But, so by the time I wrote my second edition of my book, I had like an epiphany. I was getting ready to do a TED Talk for TEDx Jersey City.
Okay.
And I was rewriting, writing my script or my speech, and I started like stumbling over the P's.
Okay.
Like naturally, just like, why am I saying pitch? And even like when I said pitch, my face would wince up a little bit. Like pitch, perks, like just the letter P. As a poet, I focus a lot on those little nuances.
Yeah, totally.
So I said, you know what? These don't work. These are so fucking corporate.
Right.
These are corporate terms.
Yeah.
And crowdfunding is not corporate. If you're coming at it with the money, you might as well go and find an investor, and you'll be better off, because you're going to have to cater to the audience, and that's full-time work.
Yeah.
So I said, let me get rid of these outdated words,
Right,
and figure out something that's more inviting.
Okay.
So I came up in my second edition, and I unveiled them at my TED Talk. I call them the 3 INs, because they all start with IN.
Okay.
And it's the invitation, the incentives, and the interactions.
Yeah, okay.
So these are the 3 main things.
Right.
The invitation is basically your invitation video,
Okay.
campaign video, or the story section where you're telling us the story. It's an invitation to get the audience involved.
All right.
It's not. So again, you want to pitch, that's great. Pitch somebody in an elevator, and they'll either give you a quick yes or no. But when you invite someone, you're making them something bigger, something more important in the whole process.
Part of the process.
Yep. So that's the invitation. Mostly it's the video, because that's probably the most important thing.
Okay.
The incentives are the rewards or the perks.
Okay.
And yes, they do kind of have a weight to them. Like, people want something sometimes. Some people just donate. But you want to get somebody at the $500 or $5,000 level.
Right.
They're looking for something, and they're not. With crowdfunding, you can't necessarily give them a percentage of the company or the movie or anything.
Right.
So you have to give them T-shirts, and those are the boring perks. But you got to give them something, an experience, something that gets them more involved.
Right.
And makes them feel like they got something for their money, or some of their money.
Okay.
And then the last part is, it is the most important part of the interactions. I called it promotion first.
Okay.
But promotion means you're just blowing your own horn. Help me, support, do this, do that.
Right.
And after a couple of days, that gets boring and nobody pays attention.
Right, okay.
But you have to interact with people. You
Okay.
have to make them feel like they're important, because
Okay.
they are.
Okay.
And if you don't make them feel like they're important, then you'll never be able to get them to give you what's most important to them, which is their money.
Yeah. How do you do it? Get an example?
Absolutely. So I'm a big Twitter guy, but you can do it on any social media platform, and I'd say it's 85% social media.
Okay.
But it's also this. It's also us hanging out at a coffee shop talking. That's engagement. Like, I feel special being on a podcast.
Yeah.
I feel special when we meet up and talk at Mod Cup or wherever else we talk about
I gotcha.
things. So, but in a social media sense, it's easier because you have more reach to a wider audience.
Okay.
Now, if we're looking at like food specifically, that's going to be most likely local or tri-state area kind of thing. And yeah, you can use social media, but you should also be kind of going here and there. And basically just sitting down with people, having conversations, just talking.
Yeah, okay.
Not necessarily talking because you have an agenda, because people can see that shit, and then they kind of back
do.
away. I do it way too much now. Like, the minute somebody meets with me and I know they want to, they want to pick my brain, or they want to and I'm like, I start tightening up, and it's like, we're not going to do this again.
Yeah.
And I already know that, because they're not here for the right reason, which is, you want to get to know me.
Right.
Let's get to know each other.
Okay.
And then by the 4th time, then we can start talking about crowdfunding, and you can pick my brain, and I'll give away free advice and all that stuff.
Right.
That's the difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally.
So it's kind of...
You're building a relationship.
100%. It's, Slava Rubin, the former CEO of Indiegogo, but he's also the co-founder.
Okay.
He had this great saying, the age of transactions are over. It's all about relationships now.
Totally.
because nobody wants to feel like a transaction. Even when you come to a coffee shop like this, like, you know the people.
Yeah, it's true.
You get to know them the first day you come. Yeah. By the 10th day, you're talking, and then, then sometimes you might forget to pay the bill, Yeah,
I gotcha.
And, things like that, because it's become more.
Yeah.
But they already know you're going to be back tomorrow.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a connection. And if they ever need money, you're in.
Yeah, no, it's true. The reason I come to Griot is because I know the owners. They put out a great product. We built a relationship before they even let me come and do anything. Mod Cup's another one. I would do it in Mod Cup, but you know how small that place is, and I don't want to hear old guys talking like in my day. Sometimes they have their own crowd. So, but that's I agree. That's the relationship part.
Yeah, and that's the hard work about crowdfunding is the. So, it's called crowdsourcing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the technical term, and that came before crowdfunding. But not a lot of people know that word.
Yeah.
Because, people are all about like, oh, crowdfunding, money, yay.
Right.
But it's like, no, you got to find the people, and you've got to engage with them first.
That's true.
And it's just like, even in the word, I like to tell people, in the word crowdfunding, the crowd comes before the funding.
Yeah.
So you've always got to put the crowd before the funding.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And they just... My struggle with clients and everything is when they realize how much work that is.
Oh, it's tons of work.
They don't want to do it.
And I think that's what people, not to quote Gary Vee, but he says, I'll give you the roadmap, I'll tell you everything to do, and 90% won't do it because it takes work. Another 4-letter word, right?
Exactly. It's worse than the F word, that W word.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's true. You got to put in that work, and I'm a recovering Gary Vayniac.
Yeah, me too.
But when he talks, he makes sense, and that's it. And I give people the roadmap as well, and I can only hope they do it.
Yeah. Actually, though, if you really want to use Gary Vee as an example, his message hasn't changed.
Of course not. Nope.
It hasn't. So it's always been constant.
He's changed, but his message hasn't changed.
No, it's true.
Nice.
It's true. It's true. And pour a little juice for Gary. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so which crowdfunding website, I know you were kind of talked about it a little bit, which crowdfunding website do you think you would use again, and is there any new ones on the horizon that you've seen?
Oh, that's a great question. Cool, and for the first time I can talk freely about it.
Right.
So it depends on the project.
Okay.
And it depends on a couple of factors. Like, obviously we know the two big ones, Indiegogo and Kickstarter.
Right.
Those are I always say those are the two that matter. Mm-hmm. There's others out there that are specific to things like film. There's also Seed and Spark, which is a great platform. They have their own kind of niche thing they do.
Okay.
They have an 80% green light, so you have to basically hit 80% of your goal.
Okay.
And then you get green lit, so you're basically going to keep all that money.
Right.
Whether or not you hit 100%.
I see.
So it's a kind of cool little advancement on Indiegogo's keep what you raise, and Kickstarter's, all or nothing. Which is like, hey, you got to hit this goal or you ain't getting shit.
Right.
But the main two are Indiegogo and Kickstarter. They're probably going to be the main two for a while. New ones pop up. They do a little bit of stuff, and then they probably ultimately crash and burn.
Right.
Because it's hard work to get where it is now. But it depends on a few factors. The number one thing it depends on is, do you want to walk away with some money or no money in the event you don't succeed?
Yeah, I gotcha.
So again, if your business if you need $50,000,
right?
But if you can work with 30, well then you have two choices. One, set 30 as your goal,
right,
and hit that, and then stretch goal, as we call it, above that to 50, which is basically layering smaller goals after you hit your main goal to try to raise more money.
Do you tell people like, hey, look?
Absolutely, yeah.
So if I say, hey, I need 50,000, but really I need 30, or do you say
no?
So
no, you would tell them you would set, and this is the one option. You can set the smaller goal that you can work with.
Okay.
And then hope you hit that. Well, not hope. You're going to work.
Yeah.
You're gonna aim to hit it.
It's a full-time job per your book.
Full-time job. That's it. And so that's one way to do it.
Right.
But you would tell them like, hey, we need 30,000, and that's going to cover X, Y, and maybe a little bit of Z.
Right.
And then when you hit 30, hopefully you have a few weeks left in the campaign.
I gotcha.
Then you say, hey, we hit 30,000. We're great. let's see if we can hit 45,000 because
Okay.
then we can do Y, Z, and A and B.
Ooh. So basically,
You know?
so when you lay it out on the website, because I'm visualizing this in my head, even though it's audio, so if you can see the beach ball above my head. But you basically lay it out and say, look, we need X. But if we can get a little more, then I can do these other goals.
100%.
And that's the stretch goal you're talking
100%.
about.
Yep.
See?
And I would only lay out the new stretch goals once the initial goal gets hit.
I got you.
So you want to make it seem like all we need is 30,000.
I got you.
Let's hit it and focus on that, or
Right,
whatever
right.
the amount is.
Right.
And then, because people are going to get excited.
Yeah.
And it all depends on what you're going to offer them.
Right.
And what you can do with the additional money that's going to make for a better product for them.
Right, I got you.
Ultimately, right?
All right.
So that's one way to do it. The other way is, again, if you know, and that would be good for like Indiegogo or Kickstarter, right?
Okay.
But if you know that you need 50,000 and you cannot work with a penny less,
Right.
then I'd say maybe Kickstarter is the better option.
Because it's all or nothing. Everyone knows it.
And here's the thing. So is Indiegogo. Indiegogo has the option of all or nothing. But see, the thing you just did,
Yeah.
that's what everybody does. Indiegogo is known for the platform that is you get to keep whatever you raise.
I got you.
That's it. They've tried hard to do, they call it fixed funding, and they've tried hard to promote it, but everybody knows Kickstarter is the one that's all or nothing, period.
I got you.
So that's the kind of one thing is like, how much money do you absolutely need? What can you work with?
Okay.
The other thing is, what is the audience?
Okay.
So if somebody tells me now, hey, I want to make a film, immediately I'm like, okay, Kickstarter.
All right.
Indiegogo's not focusing on film anymore in the way that they used to.
Right.
But if you say, oh, you got this great technology idea, I would be like, well, that's where Indiegogo's
Would they kick you out of bed? Like if I went to them and say, hey, look, I'm going to do a film. And they're like, no, we don't do film. Would they?
No. They'll still let you do it.
Okay.
But it's not the audience, the filmmaker audience, is not hanging out on Indiegogo. They're hanging out on Kickstarter.
All right. No, I have a question.
The food audience, just to kind of bring
ahead.
it back to food, because I always want to cater to the audience.
Yep.
It is both.
Okay.
They're hanging out on both because at the end of the day, that's going to be more localized.
Yeah.
So your audience is going to go wherever the hell you take them.
Okay, I got
So
you.
it doesn't matter. You could even do it on your website through a PayPal link. They'll go. They'll follow you.
Yeah, I got you. So that's what I was kind of say. Okay, let's say you built a real network in real life, IRL, and you basically tell people, hey, look, ask me about my food truck or my grandma's cookies or my diner documentary. And you built a following. So it really wouldn't matter where you put it other than the fact that it's all or nothing, or you kind of get what you raised.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, and again, so the other question that sometimes people ask is like, oh, well, then why should I do crowdfunding and spend, 5%, because platforms take about 5%. You're going to lose 3% in credit card transaction fees. Like you're losing like almost 10%.
Okay.
Of whatever you raise.
Wow.
It's like, why would I do that when I could just set up a PayPal button on my website and only lose whatever PayPal's fees are? And the answer is simple. PayPal's not optimized for that. You're still going to do all the promotion, but you don't have anything that creates that sense of urgency.
Yeah,
that's
true.
what the goal does. When people see the goal, there's a green bar that stretches.
Yeah.
We call it the green bar effect. It stretches from the one side to the other. The more money you get, the more, the greener it gets.
Right.
People, when they see that bar green, they want to put in more money.
That's true.
It's psychological.
That's true.
Again, you can't do that on your website because you're just going to be spending more time doing that and basically creating the infrastructure that crowdfunding platforms have had in place for the last 10 years.
Right.
So it's always like, yes, front up the money, give Indiegogo or Kickstarter their due, and access what they have because they have tools and they also have audience that you may not be able to reach.
That's true. And that would be the additional, like you bring your own people in IRL, and they have additional people that, I like
100%.
this. Right.
Yep. And that's when you start seeing things, like when a campaign is doing well on a platform, that's when you start seeing that the platform's promoting them.
Oh, okay.
On the homepage and stuff like that. Sometimes it's organic, sometimes it's curated. Like I know Kickstarter curates everything because they're, at the end of the day, they're all about. I mean, I hate to say it, they're favoritism. It's like, oh, I like this campaign because I've seen campaigns that aren't doing well that are promoted. On Indiegogo, it's all merit based.
Okay.
Like it's like, if you hit a certain percentage, it triggers an algorithm, and you get up there, and then you get access to the wider audience that you might not have had access to.
That's true. I think all social media, because if you want to boil down to it, these are social media platforms that just collect money to help 100%. You. Because I've seen like YouTube, Casey Neistat, he's their poster child for YouTube. They always promote him, so it makes sense.
Yep. Anybody bringing in money, to the platforms get their promotion.
It's totally promotion. So that's a whole separate podcast for another rant. But okay, so let's go on. Okay, how can someone build a team? And that was a big. When I read that part, the A team, the B team, and the C team, there was a big aha moment. So how can people get involved? How do you recommend it? Besides the fact saying, hey, just join my team, because some people, I want you on the C team only, but not the A team.
Right. No, well, yeah. So and I'll clarify a little bit of my A, B, and C team. To be honest, when I wrote the book the first time, back in like 2012 or 2011 or whenever it was, that was such a. The A, B, and C team was such I can say this. It was such a bullshit thing.
Okay.
At that moment, because I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know.
Right.
All I know is I had it.
Yeah.
I had like different people that were willing to do different things, but I couldn't push them to do something extra.
I got you.
So again, like my A team was literally 2 people. Yeah. Actually, if I'm really honest, my A team was 1 person. It was me.
Yeah.
But I gave credit to my boy Alan Aguilar, who was my cinematographer on all my films.
Yeah.
And he tweeted the campaign a few times.
Okay.
I gave credit to my fiance Marinelle, who runs 80 Magazine here. Yeah. She tweeted a few times, and she did a lot of. Actually, she did all of the. So I did these incentives where I wrote poems for everybody who contributed at least $10.
That's nice.
And my whole thing. I can get into that a little more, because that was what snapped a circuit in my head about what crowdfunding really is. Yeah. But I don't know how to design things. She's a graphic designer, so she basically designed each one nicely in Photoshop so that I could then post it on people's Facebook walls.
Nice.
And what would happen is I would post it, and I would get more contributions, because back then this was pre-cover photo.
Yeah.
So you only had your profile picture. People would make my poem their profile pic. Their friends would see it and be like, "How did you get one of those?"
Right.
And they would want one for them. So I was fulfilling these things real time.
Wow.
Like as they came in, 3 days later that person had a poem on their Facebook wall.
Nice.
So, and I was writing every single day. So it was great. But she was like definitely A team material.
Okay.
And Alan definitely, he shared the campaign as when I told him to and all that stuff.
Right.
But that was it. That was my A team.
Okay.
The B team, I didn't actually have a B team. I tried to get it, but it was too much paperwork for me to go to my college, fill out the stupid co-op form, put it in a book, and hope that the students are going to see it, want to be a part of it for no money.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that, but I've worked with people who have, and it works wonders, whether they're working with the crowdfunding aspect or sometimes what they have their B team do is, because again, good crowdfunding understands a very simple premise.
Right.
You are probably not going to get your entire budget from crowdfunding.
Okay.
It was never meant to be that.
Okay.
It was meant to be a piece of it.
Right.
When people do get the whole budget, it's an anomaly.
It's a gift.
And it happens every now and then because they just got a great project.
Right.
And they do some things and they're willing to go above and beyond. Like there's so many factors.
Right.
But what they would take some of these B team members is they would say, all right, well, we want you to write these grants.
Okay.
Fill out these grant forms.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, nobody wants to do that. That's why you crowdfund.
Right.
Because those forms take time. But you have somebody take care of it, then you focus on crowdfunding. They focus on that. I've also had people have their B team focusing on social media marketing, putting money behind things and stuff like that. So sometimes even a filmmaker will get like a business student who knows how to use Facebook's marketing manager or whatever it's called, creating ads and stuff like that and putting money towards it.
Okay.
So that's a great use of the B team if you've got that and if you need that. The C team is just the crowd.
Yeah.
It's the audience. The minute they put $1 in, they are a part of that team.
Yeah.
And it's important to let them know that.
Right.
With a thank you on Twitter or Facebook or wherever.
Right.
With reaching out to them and even offering them other perks. Or what I like to do is offering them other ways to get involved in the process.
Okay, give an example of that.
Let's say maybe your C team, somebody on your C team is a graphic designer.
Okay.
And you need some last-minute graphic design work.
Okay.
You know, maybe one of them will do it. And all you got to do is one of the hardest things I've recently learned is you just got to ask.
Yeah, it's hard. You got to do the ask. Yeah. Okay.
You know, and some, you know, look, if they put in $10, $50 already, chances are they want to do more. They want to help out.
They want to be a part of it.
They want to be a part of it. And again, the money is such a dirty thing, you know.
I gotcha.
It's as clean as and altruistic as it could be. It's still a dirty thing. It's the gateway.
Yeah.
It's the gateway into a bigger world. And look, if they've got skills, I've had people reach out to me.
Yeah.
When I crowdfunded, wanting to help. They're like, "Hey, look, I'm a graphic designer. I do this, I do that. Whatever you need, pro bono. I really want to help the film."
Okay.
One of the guys who gave, I like telling this story. It's a quick one, but like this dude, Ben, you know, one day I had $500 in my account and I had an executive producer.
Wow.
In my film for Cerise, and I was like, oh my God, this is great. And I started Googling the guy and I couldn't find a damn thing about him. He wasn't on social media. He wasn't on Twitter, nothing. He wasn't in the world.
Wow.
And, you know, if you're not on Facebook or Twitter, you don't exist.
You don't exist.
So at the end of the day, it's like, I'm like, this guy's totally fake. He just gave fake $500. What am I going to do? So I was waiting and waiting for the $500 to go away. And then finally, I think we found an email address, or we got the email address on Indiegogo. We emailed him, and a few weeks later, he got back to us. He was real. He meant to put in $500. He loves the project. And whatever else we need, let him know. To this day, the guy still... You know, like I think he's the reason I have my website up. You know, like he pays for like these little things.
Yeah.
Because he's an altruistic guy who has a good amount of money.
Yeah.
And he cares about what I'm doing.
Yeah,
and
I got you.
He even backed my comic book campaign that I did.
So he's like a super fan.
He would be He's a super fan, yes. If he backed more campaigns, I would say he would classify as what they call the super backer, which I think is a ridiculous term.
Right.
That of course Kickstarter coined, I think. You know, but it's this backer that just jumps in and throws money at everything.
Right.
You know, whether it's $1 on 50 campaigns.
Right.
They're just like they get this status and then they get into this backer club thing. I mean, there's a whole. When you get deep into this world, there's some ridiculous things out there, but it's all for a positive goal, which is to get good shit funded.
Yeah,
and
I got you.
At the end of the day, it could be as ridiculous as I want to think it is.
Right.
It works.
All right. That's some good stuff. That really is.
I have very strong opinions about things like that, but again, the one thing you can't deny is it's all for the right reason.
Yeah. That's I think people know bullshit, and they know when you're faking it. And they know when you're passionate.
Yep.
And if you help people along the way, I don't know if you know who's gluten free. The group they used to be over at the old 942. It was Do UT and who's gluten free.
I don't know if I know them.
Well, they are a local gluten free bakery. They used to be in the Heights. They started in the Heights. Now they're over on the West Side.
Huh.
Shelly, who's gluten free?
Yeah, wow.
Honestly, I'll introduce you. Mm-hmm. But the girls, when we go there every so often, Shelly and they're like, oh, when are you going to do your Kickstarter? When are you going to do it? Because they want to contribute already. Because I've helped them with so much stuff. I mean, yeah. And then basically, I treat them like they're my little sisters. As a little sister, I'm very proud of what
you're
doing.
It. You're already doing every single thing right.
Yeah.
And if everybody did that,
right.
But it's hard work, right?
No,
like tell the audience.
No,
it's hard work.
It's extremely hard work if, and here's an if, if you're not like this in real life. In real life, I reach out to people and say, look, I like what you're doing. Because the one thing if you give away positivity, it comes back
100%,
100-fold.
Yep.
And all you have to do is tell someone, wow, I really like what you've done. I've seen what you've been doing for years, and I'm really proud of what you do.
Yep.
And they'll come back. It really does.
Exactly. And I even don't like calling it work. You know, going back to Gary Vee and everything. Yeah. It is work.
Totally.
But if you're doing it, like you said, for the right reasons, altruistically, because you actually do like something, it's not work. It's a part of your day.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's
true.
true.
You do it to 10 people a day, man, that's 10 fans, that's 10 contributions, that's 10 lifelong fans.
My personal philosophy in life is I want to make lifelong connections. Yeah. I try to do it with everyone. Some people you just never click, but some people you do. And that's my goal every day. Make a lifelong connection with someone out there, because you never know when you need something and they're the person to give it to you. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Let's go ahead. What should be in your pitch video? Now, I know you've said this is the first part of In, right? That's okay.
Yeah, I've tried to call it the invitation video, but then again, people just know it as the campaign video, so I'm kind of adapting my language to suit what people kind of think of it, as long as they don't call it the pitch video, because like I said, I get antsy now when I hear the word pitch.
Yeah.
So a lot's changed with campaign videos, and the advice in my book, the advice that I still give, is totally relevant.
Right.
Of the main parts of it. Number one, you have to be in the video.
Yeah.
You got to be in it. You got to know who the hell you are.
Period.
There has to be a video.
Yeah.
We have to know something about it, and we're not necessarily going to read the whole story section on the campaign page. It might be too long. We want to get the gist in about 2 minutes.
Okay.
Years ago, it used to be 3 minutes. Our attention spans are going down.
Way down.
Campaign videos should be about 2 to 2 minutes 20 seconds. Yeah. That's it. And you need to be in it. You need to have an introduction to who you are, because I see some people. Actually, I had a guy who read my book, and he did the campaign video is great. I actually, I helped him out a little bit pro bono. I organized his script a little bit.
Okay.
And he did it just like I reorganized it, and it was a great campaign video.
Yeah.
One thing was missing. He didn't introduce himself. He just jumps in. I've liked horror movies for blah blah blah. And it was great.
Yeah.
But that was the one thing that's missing is, hi, I'm this dude.
Right.
And I've been into horror movies my whole life.
Right.
And now I'm making one.
Okay.
We need to just tell us who you are, because the name is your most important word you're ever going to have.
That's your business card.
That's your card, yeah. Just tell us that. Or at the very least, put it in a lower third if you forget. Put in the lower third. We need to know your name. We got to know who you are.
Yeah.
Because you're the person we're giving the money to.
Yeah.
Your project could actually suck.
Yeah.
But if you're passionate, if you're excited, that's going to be addictive. You might get $10. You might not get $50 from me.
Yeah.
But you might get 10 just because you're awesome.
Yeah.
And I might not like your film, but here's $10.
Yeah. No, I got you.
So you got to do an introduction to yourself. Then you got to tell us the pitch, or what I call the invitation, which is what the film is about, or what the business is about, and why we should care enough to help you make it.
Right.
Very important part.
Okay, for those that don't understand what a lower third is, the screen is... No, it's all right. The screen is divided. Any screen time, there's in thirds, and you put your name in the lower part. It's a type thing. But yeah, that's what a lower third is.
Yep.
Okay.
So then outside of the invitation or the introduction and the invitation, right after that, what I recommend is, if you are... regardless of what business you're in, if you're a filmmaker or a food creator, or a food creator.
That's really cool.
Yeah, actually, it makes sense.
Creation of food, yeah.
I'm gonna stick with that. You want to show us the proof that you are what you are.
Right.
We need to know that you know how to make a film. We need to know that you know how to do a foie gras, or whatever your specialty is.
Yeah, exactly.
Show us the B-roll. The extra footage of you doing what we're going to ultimately invest our money in.
Right.
Invest not necessarily for money back, but for to help you make something.
Right.
We want to know that you can do it. And now it's more important than it ever was, because backers have become savvy. Because everybody is crowdfunding. You probably know 2 people at least who are crowdfunding right now. I know dozens.
Yeah.
And I'm always getting hit up, and I can't give to everybody, so now I have to make decisions.
Yeah.
Who of my friends deserves my money?
Yeah, I got what you're saying.
It's pretty bad now, because now we can't just give it to all our friends.
Right.
So you have to prove that you're the one we should give the money to.
Okay.
And then I like to tell people, mention a few of the incentives that you get.
Okay.
You know, like a couple, hey, we've got cool things. We've got, behind the scenes footage. We've got this, we've got that. Very quickly. And then at the very end, one of the most important things, the call to action.
Right.
Remind us. We've been through 2 minutes of you talking.
Right.
Remind us. What are we here to do again?
Yeah.
Just tell us. Back us, share us, and we'll see you in the kitchen. Boom.
That's good. I'm very fired up now, and I know the BVSTERs will be fired up, especially when you're looking for funding, and this is a roadmap. Yeah. Now, the last question we really had was, how does social media play a role in getting your message out? And we've kind of been talking about it. Mm-hmm. Is there something that we did not cover in the social media sphere?
Yeah, there's plenty we didn't cover. But in terms of so obviously the biggest role that it plays is audience building. Right?
Okay.
And if you're doing a local campaign, it's not necessarily the audience building, it's the audience maintenance.
Yeah.
You want to keep them up to date, especially for local campaigns. If you don't have, and for food, if you don't have an Instagram,
forget it.
You're done.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get money from Instagram by promoting your campaign necessarily.
No.
But you have to have it in general so that people, that's your proof.
Right.
Here, look at all the good stuff we do.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a campaign, and you can kind of put that out there a little bit.
Yeah, I got you.
So I think the main thing is two things. One, and we talked about this before we started, don't build on top of a platform.
Right.
Unless it's your own platform.
Right.
So again, if you're building your audience, do yourselves a favor, and this is coming from somebody who did not follow this advice.
Okay.
Get email addresses and covet them like they're all important, because they are. So we don't, as wonderful as Instagram is, if Instagram goes down,
right,
your business goes down with it if that's where you built it from.
That's true.
But when you have the email addresses, those platforms are what they're supposed to be, tools.
Yeah.
So my biggest advice is social media plays a part for awareness, wider awareness, and maintenance of your current audience.
Okay.
But it should not be where they live.
I got you.
Okay. And in terms of promotion, I know I call it interactions because you do have to interact, but occasionally you do promote. You have to promote your business a little bit.
I got you.
But when you think about it, every person who promotes a business on Instagram specifically by putting a picture of some food,
right?
Yes, that's great. It's promotion if you post it and people are commenting and the business never comments back. Then you're in it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Then it's because you want to get people coming in.
Yeah.
But if you start commenting on those comments, forget about it.
Yeah.
Now you're creating lifelong partners,
who
are going to want to eat there every day and want to know more about it. So there's a lot of that, and that translates to crowdfunding because that's where it starts.
Yeah. I had a good example of that. There's a Facebook group called The Secret Montclair. It's not that secret, but, I posted my story about doing the documentary, and I posted just some pictures of the diners around. That thread, people just kept talking and talking without me talking. So it just kept going on and on and on. Then I said, can you send me examples of stories that you've had of, how these diners have helped you or whatever, that diner story. And I got such cool stories. Really cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how it just kept going. So what you're basically saying is it's not about, if you're bullhorning it out and not responding,
100%.
You're not, that's not engagement.
It's not. It's absolutely not.
You're not having a conversation.
Yeah, you need to have that conversation. I'm working with about 3 clients right now, and that's the part that they're at.
Right.
And I see one doing fairly well. It's hard, though.
Yeah.
It's hard because, look, the fact is, here's the truth. Here's some hard truth. Sometimes you do all this work, and you still don't get the interactions.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's a reflection of what you're putting out. Your business. Maybe nobody wants it.
Maybe it's saturated.
It's oversaturated. There's issues with that. But crowdfunding is also, aside from getting money,
right,
it's also a proof of concept.
Okay.
If you have an idea for something and you don't know if people want it.
Okay.
Sure, you could do the surveys. People can take the surveys, but the surveys are free.
All right.
You know, you really want to know whether or not they want what you're selling or what you're going to peddle. Set up a campaign, set a decent goal, push it hard, interact, do everything I'm saying.
Yeah.
And look, at the end of the day, some campaigns still don't succeed.
Yeah.
Guess what? It's time to scratch that business.
Yeah.
Move to a new one.
Yeah.
That's, again,
it's test and repeat, I guess, is what you're saying.
It really is.
Yeah.
But a lot of people get so myopic about their business or their idea.
They get enamored.
And, you know, when I've seen campaigns, film campaigns, primarily, I've seen them 4 times crowdfunding.
Yeah.
And each one is a failure.
Yeah.
Like, they just don't hit the goal. And they just never accept the fact that, like, people don't want this one.
Yeah.
Do you have another one?
Yeah.
The problem is they don't, which means you're not really a filmmaker then, because a filmmaker has films that they could just pick out of a hat and make. You know, the audience doesn't want this, give them something else. See which one sticks, which one gets paid for.
That's true.
You know? And
That's
same
true.
thing with any business.
Yeah.
It's just hard to admit, because then there's like, you know, we're human beings. It's a hard blow. But, you know, it's better to learn it that way and not have to invest any money.
Yeah.
And invest it into something else.
Yeah. And it's not just filmmakers or cookie makers or the foodie creators, but app developers. I hear app guys get so enamored with their own work that they don't realize how horrible it is, or like it's not going to go anywhere.
Dude, founder syndrome. I just learned that idea, that concept the other day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you could, I mean, that company, when I worked for, suffered from it a little bit too.
Yeah. It's true.
You know,
you
and it happens, and I'm like, dude, I probably suffer from it too. I'm like, I'm going to make this happen, whether it kills me. And back in the day, it was sexy to be a starving artist. Now it's like, you don't need to starve. Just give the audience something else, as long as it comes from you.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like,
that's true. We should end it there, but I just I want to thank you, John Trigonis, for joining the BVSTER family.
Boom. Thank you for having me.
No, I love you guys. I love you too much, man. Thank you, BVSTERs, for listening. And I just messed up my own ending. But thank you for listening to the BVSTER Podcast, telling stories through food.